episode of Always Be Connecting, we're going to talk about fundraising. And the world we live in, the way that fundraising is set up, is that some organisations rely on giving, or whether that's other organisations or other people, to survive and then also make that impact. And to help us understand how fundraising works and what we can learn from fundraising is Berta Youakim. Hello, Berta. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Lindsay. I'm really excited about my podcasting debut.
Have you done any practice for it, or
A
little bit in the mirror?
I do thank you videos a lot. So, but this is different.
Yeah.
It's always the first time.
So you told me before we went on that there was a story about your name. So let's start there.
Yeah, let's start there. Actually, I have to say, which my girls always kind of make fun of it, that English is my third language.
Okay.
So I'm born and bred in Beirut. And as Lebanese, if you have any Lebanese friends, we all have like 3 languages happening whenever we grow up.
Okay.
And as I said, English is my third. But growing up in born and bred in Beirut, my name is a French name. It's Berthe, B-E-R-T-H-E. So as many of us, when we migrated to Sydney, there's always a story with the name. So it's B-E-R-T-H-E, and people here could talk Bert, Bertie, Bertha, like it was really hard. And I remember at my first job at the Garvan Institute, my friend Gabby, she got frustrated because I wouldn't mind whatever they called me, but she got frustrated. So she took a paper and she wrote on it bear, like the bear, the cuddly bear, -T, Bert. You know what I mean? The bear and the T. And it was like kind of a funny story happening there. But then at the gym, they kind of baptized me with B, just the letter B.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm calling to book a restaurant, like B, can you spell it? What do you want me to do? It's the second
B.
letter of the alphabet. Yeah. But with work now, it's Berta. It's easier. It makes people more comfortable. They don't have to think about it. Berta.
So 3 languages and 3 names.
Yeah.
What are your languages?
Arabic, French, English, and Italian.
Okay. And what was it like growing up in Beirut? What's the scene there?
Yeah, so I grew up in Beirut. It was, you grow up not knowing anything else. So I grew up in a time of war in the 80s. Grew up with Madonna, grew up with a bit of songs here and there. But our life was, we spent a lot of time in the bunkers, but we didn't know anything else. Like there was time when you have to go to the bunker, go down, like it was normal, at least twice a week you would go down there because something will happen and then it settles. But we didn't know anything else because it's exactly what you have outside. Yeah. We had games, we played Monopoly, we played Scrabble. Like it was kind of, as kids, we didn't know how serious it was. But I have to say, until I got my scholarship and I went to Italy, I understood that difference between, if you have a Lebanese friend, yalla means let's go, hurry up, do it. And the dolce far niente, like relax, take it easy. Sure. So I saw the shift and it was kind of an eye-opener for me. And when you leave Beirut and you understand that life happens in a different way, you kind of be scared to come back and live there because especially when you have kids, you don't want them to have the experience you had. So it's quite interesting.
And being on like high alert and
yeah. Until now, you don't believe, Lindsay, I can't give my back to the door. I'm always on alert. I'm always rushing. But I'm trying to calm myself. You know, with age, you just try to calm yourself a little bit. But it's something ingrained in us. We're always in a hurry. My notes from school, like, you know, the end-of-year report, will have 2, like the first 2 months, you have your grades, and then there's a gap, and then you have the end of year. So we never had, like I think through my primary school, I didn't have like the 4 terms happening at once. There was always movement, going to here, going to there. So there was a lot of different things.
Yeah. So there's that's the vibe in the air. But What about like consequence? What are you seeing around you? Are there people struggling? Are there
Yeah, I think
people injured or like?
yeah. Like I remember vividly, in the time when I think I was probably 14, 13 or 14, and there was a bit of a gap in the time because we were underground for like a week, and my dad wanted to go and get some bread with other men from the neighborhood, and I still remember how I held his hand, and I said, "I'm going with you," and we were walking for 10 minutes in a minefield. But it wasn't just us; it was us and other people finding the way through the minefield in
Wow.
Beirut. And these things, like, I still remember how I held his hand. And, I have, it's memories, you kind of learn from them. But as I said, you wouldn't understand the magnitude until you've seen something else.
No.
And until you've learned, as I said, like to live in a different environment. Yeah, but it's...
What is the memory? Is it a memory of apprehension? Is it a memory of going to the shops with your dad? Is it a memory of holding his hand?
It's mainly of this. It's mainly a memory of how strong he was and holding his hand and the determination that he needed to get food for his family. And there was a small time when there wasn't a bombing happening, so we need to rush, go out and go back. And I was the only kid with them on the block, holding his hand and walking with him. Yeah, I don't know. It is adversity. It kind of shaped a little bit of how I am. And I think the main decision for my husband and I to come to Australia is when my daughter, Gaia, she was 2.5. So we looked at her.
So you're still in Beirut at this time?
Yeah, I was still in Beirut. We met the first day of uni with my husband.
Yeah.
And we were on a distance relationship because I was in Italy. But then in 2006, 6th of June 2006, it's a date I'll never forget, was our first day. And I came here to Australia with my daughter, with Gaia. And because I thought, I lived through that. I want to see if I come here and if I have another life, I don't want her to go through what I've been through. But we're always talking about our heritage and our cultural, what we like and what we don't like and things like that.
And telling stories of what it could have been.
Yeah, exactly.
To understand.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. Not to be scared from it, but to kind of draw lessons of resilience. Resilience. Because these days, and the things in the Middle East haven't changed, like we're still in the same years after, we're still in the same, with the same problems. But it's mainly, as I said, stories of resilience, how you can pull yourself up and, not for every problem kind of, oh my God, the world has finished, just have a bit. There's a fine line in mental health between being resilient and kind of letting go and letting things happen for you rather than being active in taking charge.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't know this story about you, Berta, before. It's an amazing story.
Oh, thank you.
And it's easy to see now a little peek into why you do what you do. Because you can kind of sense. So there's you holding your dad's hand, feeling the need of having guidance and strength and support, and the sense of people in need, people in a situation which is not healthy for them.
Exactly.
Or there's something that can happen. There's other people. We're in Australia, and it's so we're so blessed, and there's
we're very grateful.
So much opportunity and so much wealth of various things that people shouldn't need to feel like that necessarily.
Yeah.
There's always fine tuning, obviously, but So, what else do you think comes from your past to sort of form who you are?
So, unfortunately, Dad passed away when I was 16. So he passed away from cancer. And my mom was we were 3 kids. My mom was a teacher. And to kind of get things happening, we needed to have like a little bit of a support with school, a scholarship. So I still remember when this was my high school, when I had to sit down once a year at school and write a thank you letter to a donor. So, and I didn't know who the donor was. So we needed to say thank you, blah, 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 this and that. And kind of it just happened. But then after you remember that there are a few things that are part of who you are. And you kind of, whenever you're, what's the word? Like you're not chasing. I never chased fundraising. I feel like it's just, I was drawn to it. So this was my first experience. My second experience with kind of philanthropy is again when I was at uni. I did my degree in agricultural engineering, something really serious. I wanted to be a winemaker. It will happen hopefully when we retire. But I think what the best thing that happened at school is that I met my husband there first day of school. So at school, after I finished my degree, I got a scholarship from the Italian embassy to go and do a master's degree in Italy. And as I said, this was my eye-opener to living on my own, to kind of learning something different. And the institute also like get the scholarship for the students, part of philanthropy. So again, it was another kind of milestone that made me think that sometimes what you can achieve is not just on your merit, it's the merit of the path you're in and the people contributing to it. Because my mom would, it was really hard for her to, I wouldn't have dreamt of going to Italy and studying there if it wasn't a scholarship. So kind of this was my second milestone in the world of philanthropy.
Is it interesting that you said that you were doing agricultural engineering as well? Because in the Nikki Guy book I've read, it talks a lot about gardening, and like gardening is all about care and growing something, and then that comes back to fundraising as well. So like it all
comes
ties in together.
That's true.
Okay,
yeah, that's true.
So how does fundraising work? Well, if we can abbreviate it somehow, what would you say?
Yeah. So I was lucky enough because early in my career, after my master, I got a call to kind of support the startup of a charity in Beirut, the Italian Association of Volunteers for International Service. So I started there, and straight away, because I had the agricultural background, I was trying to write grants, and we did project on beekeeping for farmers. We did project on water management and land management and stuff like that. So this kind of my first entry to the world of fundraising was mainly through grants and proposals. And I was things were happening, definitely a team effort, not just on my own. And then slowly, I've done 7 years with international development, and then to come to a circle, I met the Sisters of Charity in Beirut, and we start doing exactly the distance adoption. What we called back then is supporting kids.
Okay.
With their education. So I was doing that.
Tell us a little bit about Sisters of Charity. What does that mean?
The Sisters of Madre Teresa. Well, I don't know why I said Sisters of Charity. I'm sorry about that. So the Sister of Madre Teresa, they looked after refugees in Beirut. And people with really dire situation with their, and they were giving small grants. We were supporting them. The work that I had was using kind of the structure of the Sisters of Madre Teresa to distribute these funds. And I was part on this project. We call it distance adoption, but it's nothing to do with adoption here. It's just exactly what I had. It's just a bit of an interaction and a support to the kid. And it is really interesting because you see people, refugee with nothing, but whenever they know that this is the time for them to come and receive the money, they will come, they'll have their little bit of a perfume on, a lot of dignity, you know what I mean? They come to kind of receive the support. And I've learned a lot from those sisters because they had nothing, and all what they can do is just being the missions that they have in the community. They didn't have cars, they didn't have anything electrical. So I've learned a lot from them. It was quite a nice experience for me to do. So as I said, started in fundraising in that international development role with the AFSI for 7 years. And then it was mainly giving grants and writing grants and proposals and corporates and this and that. And then when we came here into Australia in 2006, had my first interview with the Garvan Institute, and I was lucky enough to get the job because I was in that grant kind of land. So again, this was my second pathway into fundraising, and I was supporting researchers to find grant opportunities, because like you will have a professor, but if they don't have this sustainability after 3 years in their project, they could lose their project. They could lose their staff. It's not easy. And the government does, there are the different NHMRC and stuff and grants from government, but it's very competitive.
Yeah.
And my role was to kind of, whenever they put the application together, to call them to let them know if they got it or not. And it's a lot. There's a lot that happens in the medical research space. And then started having a more of a diverse role with the organization that I worked for in disability, looking after a team of covering all areas of fundraising. So you would have your donors, your individual donors, you'll have your corporates, you'll have your trust and foundation where you can get a grant or like a donation, and all streams and the people who donate on a regular basis, the regular givers. So I was covering all areas of and events of fundraising.
So flipping that into business, are you you're looking at your profit and loss and you're looking at pulling levers in
all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Because I think a fundraiser should have this, you talked about power, should have like a Jedi power to do things on no budget. Like if you remember when we worked together on the Giving Day, you were kind enough to support us low bono on this because we couldn't afford to pay for videos. And this was a time during COVID when we couldn't do the gala dinner that was supposed to happen. So we kind of shifted straight away to do a Giving Day. It was one of the first Giving Day that I did. And to make it happen, I had to talk to a donor that you know really well. And he said, so what else do you need? I said, we're looking for an agency to help us. And I said, I'll give you a contact. And this is how we met. So trying to look at all the opportunities that you can have from an interaction with donors.
Yeah.
And kind of not overwhelm them, but build the bridges so there are different things that they can support you with. It's not just the money, it's being an advocate for your cause, it's being a volunteer, it's talking, it's more important how they talk about your cause and a barbecue on a Sunday, because this will happen. I always relate it to kind of, if you like a gym or if you find a new recipe, you're excited about it and you want to tell your friends about, hey, I did this and it worked. And this is what I always try kind of to achieve with the donors that I look after.
Yeah.
Just trying to nurture relationships so you are able to get if possible, a 360-degree support and embracing.
So it's interesting because when a crisis happens, they say look for the helpers. So almost you're creating a referral network of those people who are helpful, looking to do something good.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of, the fundraising is you will hear from different fundraisers. Some people, they say it's sales, it's a type of sales and marketing. I see it more. It's the pure philanthropy. It's whenever you're engaging, like I'm engaging you, and I'm telling you a good story that resonates good enough that you put your hard-earned money for this cause. So it needs to be it's not like you go to a meeting and you think, oh, well, I have 1, 2, 3, and I'll be able to get that. Yes, you do a research, and yes, you need to do that. But I'm more of a believer in understanding the donor and understanding the whole cycle of a donor and moving away from this is a regular giver, this is a major donor, this is a corporate. Just trying to kind of blur the line a little bit.
Put them in 3D as well.
Yeah.
Like they're not just. We've all been
Accounts.
pigeonholed.
Yeah. Exactly.
And realise we're all rainbows.
Yes. That's a great analogy.
That need to be talked to and listened to and communicated with.
Yeah. And get them kind of excited about the cause they are supporting. Because I believe the people that I've been more successful with are not the people kind of being a donor and a long-term donor, are more the people who they keen to support, but you're just building that bridge for them. You're not kind of forcing them or acquiring them to do something. You're just building that bridge. Because I'm not talking about mass donors. I'm talking about the donors that you have a personal relationship with. So you're building that bridge and making sure that, you're facilitating that joy that they will have from giving, those good hormones that they will feel, and the feeling that I'm contributing to something amazing.
What do they need to know to understand the impact?
Yeah, so I think it's, for me, it's definitely communication is number one. A tailored communication that always reflect something about them. Could be about the cat they have, the dog they have, something personal that kind of make them feel, because you're not making them feel. I'm being true to the conversation we had, because I take some notes respectfully, and there should be a continuity with the donor. So just making personalized communication, thanking them and being grateful. It's also important because in the world of fundraising, it's not like an investment from A to B. Sometimes you get a grant or you get a donation. Life happens, they can't do this, they have to do that. Being transparent upfront with the donor and letting them know, not at the end of when you need to do your report or whatever, or you need to come back to them to ask for another donation, letting them know early on what are the hurdles, what's happening, we need to do this, not that. Do you have, what are your thoughts? Are you okay? Most of the time they are okay because they trust the organization and they trust the staff and they trust the charity. But just being transparent. So communication, transparency, thanking them all the time. And
that authenticity.
Authenticity could be like a coffee with the CEO, could be meeting one of the beneficiaries, could be reading a story for a group of kids who are kind of the donors supporting. And most after that is the impact. So you show your impact and you tell stories. Not only 6 months and 12 months when the donation happened. Sometimes people like to receive a story out of nowhere. Like, I think it's more impactful when you send something that is not like kind of on a rigid base. So you say, hey, this is just a note to let you know 1, 2, 3 happened today. For example, when I worked in a charity for the kids, this person said the parents heard their name for the first time. This has happened for the first time. When you helped me with Ben and Tyra, Ben is able now. He's a podcaster. Is he really? Yeah. Remember how he used to do basketball?
Yeah.
And before leaving my last job, I had a chat with him, and he increased his hour thanks to the program. He increased his support. He increased his work hours because he was able to be more confident and ask for more.
Yeah.
And he's editing a podcast, a sports podcast. So how amazing is that? Those stories.
And beautiful that it was in something he loves as well.
Loves, because he did the basketball coaching. So it's important not just to wait for the end of year impact report or annual report. These are important and they are milestones. But just sometimes with the donors that you have a personal relationship with, just flick them an email. Like this is a priceless impact.
Because without that support, and I use support in a particular way because it's not support, oh, you can't do it. It's support, like, you just need this A to B.
Exactly.
You can't get from this A to B by
Yep.
yourself because of your resources or because of your abilities
Yep.
or anything like that. Or we want to give you those abilities and we want to give you those resources, and then you can go from A to B and then you can be on your way. You know, so
Exactly.
in support in that way.
Yeah, exactly. In one of the podcasts that I heard, that you did, I can't remember with who, but you were talking about documentaries and videos, and good stories don't get a lot of coverage.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what happened with my job previously, because we were working with young kids with disability and young adults with disability, but not all disability is visible. And
Yeah.
sometimes you're showing photos of a young man like Ben, who looks like he's Ben, and I like to refer to them as with their own name. Like, you wouldn't know that, and it's not a picture of, like, in dire need and this and that. It's just like, this is Ben, that's his life. Could be your neighbor, could be anyone. He just need that extra support, because with the basic fund that he received from the government, he's not able to do all of those extras that he need to be to flourish.
And without it, it could be a very different outcome.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
it could be compound interest
exactly.
on that disadvantage.
Exactly.
As well.
Mm.
Yeah, interesting. So what are some common characteristics of the people who do help out with your fundraising?
Yeah, so if I'm talking about, so as I said, you have the individuals and you have the kind of the institution and the corporate. If I'm talking about individuals, it could be someone who is personally affected by the cause, their kid, a neighbor, something like that. Or it could be just a genuine interest. So we had, for instance, whenever I was working in the space of speech therapy, you have a lot of teachers who are keen to support and things like that. It's a genuine willingness to be part of a cause that is close to their heart. And as a fundraiser, as I said before, your job is only to build that bridge.
Yeah.
With a good story and with a good impact. And Australians are very generous. Like, on average, it's kind of, if you support one charity, you support 3. But on the flip side, sadly, some of our Australians who are a little bit older are getting mass communication of EDMs direct mail going to them, and it's like,
it's a lot.
sharing list and this and that. I don't do that. Like, I'm lucky enough that I work with organizations that we didn't do that.
You're right. You got to find other ways to cut through that noise.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just too much.
It's too much, and you need to have a really powerful story to engage the donor, and to not just kind of engage them, retain them, because, as I said, the competition, everyone is doing a great job. The world of charities is needed, and there is more need. And as you know, like, we have now the domestic violence, we have the mental health, like, there's a lot happening, and there are a lot of grassroots, big organization, everyone doing a great job to kind of advance and make the world a better place.
Well, there's a better understanding of these things, isn't it? Because, like, 20 years ago, somebody with a certain mental health condition would be labelled something very different to what they are today.
Exactly.
So there's an evolution of understanding that we're all we're all the same at the end of the day.
Yeah. Like, if you just take people with ADHD, people on the autism spectrum, not long ago, none of this was happening.
Yeah.
And now even I have adult friends who are being diagnosed, with attention deficit and this and that, because there's more awareness about it.
Yeah.
And there's more understanding about it, rather than dyslexia and all of that. Like if you look back,
Yeah.
like why you're writing with the left hand, right with the right.
Yeah.
Especially in the school where I've been.
Go to conversion therapy for right with your left hand.
Yeah.
So what do you think the future of fundraising is? Because if we're moving away from misconceptions and government, because we've seen in the last year that government's actually paying attention to gender violence and
Yes.
schizophrenia and all sorts of issues like that. Will we ever be in a point where charity is less of a dirty word or even a word?
I think I do believe Australians are generous and people are generous because everyone has a story. Everyone has a connection to a type of charity or to a cause. Government definitely plays a role in it, and it's good now that you see with the new budget there are some different priorities and things on the table that weren't before. So that's really important, and I think it kind of should lead the way to draw attention to the need we have and to kind of make it, hopefully, there is, so I went to the Fundraising Institute conference early this year, and there's now a new campaign called Pay What It Takes. And it's kind of, as you said, taking the dirty word of charity, and you're a fundraiser. Like I'm a fundraiser. I do have sadly, I do have a mortgage like everyone else. I do have commitment. Yeah. So we need to pay fundraisers exactly what it takes and be upfront about it. And all the work around the Uncharitable movie of Dan Pallotta that I was really lucky to meet in person a few years back. Don't ask charities around, and this is a little bit of an education piece for donors. Like don't ask charities around their administrative cost. Ask them about their dreams and what they want to achieve. Because if you take it just to a charity, it's a dirty word, they spend more than 15% on admin. Oh wow, that's really bad.
Sure.
But other
look
companies,
at any other business admin costs.
Yeah, and then no one even asks, and that's so. Charity should be, because as I said, we are in the world of charity, we're advancing the world to become a better place.
Yeah, right.
And you need money to do that. So you need to do it in the right way. But coming back to your question, cultivating that culture of generosity in people, it is there. It's just cultivating it. And as I said, I do believe people are generous and they will continue to be. It's just us as fundraisers understanding and understanding who's the niche and who are the people that are really keen to support your charity and focus on them.
Interesting that you talked about the criticisms of charities having overheads. That's possibly something that we're moving away from into the future, because when you think about the Sisters of Mother Teresa, I'm assuming that these are women that just very low...
Yeah, living on
nothing.
Yeah.
But doing a service to the world. So there is value in that, and that needs to be paid for. And to have an organisation that makes any impact, there are overheads.
Yeah, exactly.
So, is I think the acceptance of that, we'll see that become better organised.
Yeah, and a profession.
More impact.
Yeah, and a profession, because as fundraisers, we are professionals. You know what I mean? Because when you say, oh, what do you do? I do fundraising. Oh, they feel like...
you got like a raffle ticket in your pocket or something.
Yeah, like you're on the clouds the whole day. It is hard work. And most of the fundraisers, if you interview others, are in there for the love, for the passion, for the wanting to make the world a better place. Definitely not just for the pay, because we as I said, we're struggling to get it to the stage where we are paid as... other employee.
Yeah.
this is kind of making it a profession, but also the profession for the good, the profession for the advancing of the world, and being proud about it. And as I said, like a charity will spend on a fundraiser. And I worked with donors. Like it's been 24 years now, but I'm very young. I worked with donors who would say, I don't want my donation to go to the electricity bill. And you need to and I don't want my donation to go to computers and IT. It's just for the kids. I remember vividly that conversation. Or someone saying, oh, it needs to be an innovative program. We can't fund the same thing. Like the charity, we need to be creative about we reinvent things and how we can make it appealing and create those impactful story. But at the end of the day, if it's a speech therapy for a kid, if it's a peer program or like a program for a young adult, the essence is having a staff, a professional staff, a therapist, doing good with, like, with a kid or with someone who needs support. And, the world of charity is diverse. I'm not saying that's only that, but at the core of it is the staff.
Yeah. So people have to have a trust in the organization.
Exactly.
A lot of people do.
Yeah. I had donors who would say, that the resources are limited. Just let us know how the donation, what will happen afterward, but don't, we are okay. We trust the organization.
You to do what is needed.
Yeah, we trust the therapist, we trust
funds.
the staff, whatever is needed. But then you also have people who would say, I don't want to do that. And you need to navigate the space for both and be kind of have empathy on both.
Because some people have stories of like, I have this story, so I want to donate for this very specific thing.
Exactly.
Which is very fair. But I like what you said earlier, like pay for whatever it takes.
Yeah, pay what it takes.
Pay what it takes.
Yeah, we can. As I said, it was launched at the Fundraising Institute early this year, but it all comes down to Dan Pallotta. Like, he has his own story and his the charity and the marathon he did, and at the end of the day, it kind of went pear-shaped because they were judging on the admin cost, and this is kind of what's got that that movement, I would say, happening with the Uncharitable movie. It's a really good movie.
Okay.
It's an eye-opener on charities, and I love it how he says, don't ask about the admin cost, ask about their hopes and dreams, because this is where you need to invest.
And if people want to find out about fundraising or what you do, where can people have a look?
So currently I'm working with an organization called the Funding Network. We have a signature pitch coaching and storytelling workshop that we could do for corporate staff who are serving on board, staff who are willing to serve on board, just to give them confidence, as we mentioned before, whenever they are out and about on a barbecue on a Sunday, how to talk about a cause without feeling overwhelmed, and how to say a good pitch about what's happening with the organization. So and I've just joined the Funding Network, so let us know if we can help. And it's a workshop that we do as a fee for service, because we are a charity too, and my role is to fundraise for the operational cost of the Funding Network. But
so this is like startups.
So we do find and fund amazing startups, like, I don't want to mention one or two because there are lots of them. But it's really interesting with startups how they do believe in an idea and they run with it.
Solving modern
problems. And the role of the Funding Network is to do crowdfunding events. So we build the audience for them. We bring them. It's like a little bit of a pitch that happened tonight. We have one. So if anyone would like to join, please hit us at the Funding Network. Very happy to have a chat.
In any capacity.
Yeah, in any capacity.
Usually we focus... funder, as a corporation.
As a volunteer, anything. We're happy to talk to people and get them interested. And after the charity, the startup, they pitch on the night and they do get support. The story happens afterward, because you're giving them that pitch coaching that they can use years and years after to attract funding, to talk to donors, and we do run an alumni program for them. So yeah, let us know. Any corporate who would like to join, very happy to hear from you.
What a great way for a business to mentor a new business other than to mentor someone who is a non-for-profit.
Exactly. And especially now after COVID, staff engagement is important. So anything a corporate can do to kind of show that they are supporting a charity, but they are even investing in their staff to become better storytellers for the organization they are serving or donating to or serving on their board is really interesting. There are some amazing agencies doing some work too. So yeah, if anyone wants to be a fundraiser, hit me. Love to have a chat.
Yeah.
It's a different world. We need more professional to be doing like a really good job. Yeah.
And when you open your vineyard, what's your wine going to be called? Have you got a name?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. Maybe identity. I don't know. I have to think about that.
You got to finish the story first.
Yeah. I have to finish the story first. Could be could be different things.
Thanks so much for chatting
Thank
with us.
you.
That was really enlightening.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay. Thanks for having me, and thank you for the journey we had together as well, like in filming and this and that. I really appreciate it.